All right, I guess it's a little early by 30 seconds, but we can get started. I'd like to call the Fremont County School District #1 Board of Trustees regular meeting November 18th to order. First order of business, the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United board member roll call. We're all here in County 4 this evening. We have 4. I did manage to post the proper agenda tonight, so I think I'll have the right minutes. So I'd like to get a motion for both the approval of minutes from October 21st and November 11th. So
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Additional agenda items.
Mr. Chair,
Taylor.
I'd like to move to have an executive session following our discussion from Thursday. Personnel.
You did perfect.
I'll second that.
All right, and we'll put that right at the very end so we can kick everyone out, but not stick with everyone. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Okay.
Any opposed? Okay, carried. So, I guess I do need to get a motion for the agenda. So,
Second.
discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Harris, recognition.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I want to start with some student recognitions. Being the time of year that it is, our fall activity seasons have concluded at the high school level, and we're proud of every student on every team, of course, but it has students from postseason accolades. So I wanted to bring those to the board's attention and recognize these student athletes publicly. Starting with golf, the following students received all-state honors: Sierra Espinoza and Keaton Watson on the girls' side, and then William Oland and Isaiah Webb on the boys' side. So 4 all-state golfers. Next in cross country, we had 2 all-state recipients, Dorothy Jensen and Logan Miller on the boys' side. And then girls swimming, this might take a second. Another repeat state championship for the girls. So Katie Anderson, Chase Denton, Sierra Hampton, Beta Havens, Sarah Kearns, Emily Plaisted, and our own, if I could say that, Ryan Hart. I don't know if you guys saw the team scores on that beat, but girls was 577.
Yes.
Yeah, kind of no doubter in the world of sports. Finally, in volleyball, we had 1 student in all conference and all state, and that was Eva Gerlach. And congratulations to Ava. All conference and all state awards for football have not been announced yet, but I'm confident that I'll have a few more names to share in our next meeting as well, since we put together one of our best Niagara Valley Tiger seasons in quite a long time. But second, while we're on the athletics point for a minute, back to Ava for a moment. In Gerlach, she was also a recipient of the WHSAA Good Sportsmanship Award for her conduct at the October 23rd match against Mountain View. And that was a tough match. If you follow Langer volleyball, we got swept. But even after that tough loss, Eva went out of her way to come over to the scoring table and personally thank all of the volleyball officials. And that was just a great display of sportsmanship and character by Miss Gerlach. So congratulations to Eva. Way to go on exemplifying the best of Tiger athletics there. And then lastly, keeping with our physical activity theme tonight, I want to recognize a staff member from Lander Middle School, Jordan Cooper, who's back here, looking resplendent in a tie. I don't think I've ever seen him. If I could read this really quickly before Mr. Larkin has a few remarks. Mr. Cooper was recently named the Middle School Physical Education Teacher of the Year by the Wyoming Association for Health, PE, Recreation, and Dance, which is a very long acronym. And Mr. Cooper can pronounce it for you. I think it's not how you would expect. But here's what the association said about Mr. Cooper. They said, quote, "Jordan has made a lasting impact on students at Langer Middle School through his innovative approach to physical education and his commitment to student engagement and inclusion. He brings energy, creativity, and connection to everything he does, whether designing lessons that challenge and motivate students or helping them see the joy and value in fitness. Gordon's leadership in the classroom and community continues to elevate the quality of physical education across Wyoming. Congratulations, Jordan Cooper, the middle school PE teacher of the year. Right. Paper. Yeah. I was just asking. I was waiting. And I just wanted to be ready for questions, so don't let him off the hook. He doesn't dress. The thing about this,
What do you think of Mr. Morton?
Thing about Mr. Cooper is he's consistently and always looking for ways to engage students in physical education. You can imagine how difficult that is these days to get kids engaged in some type of activity with all of the things that are at their fingertips. And Jordan's always coming to Mr. Horton and myself to ask for innovative ways that he can engage our students, either through a grant or archery and mountain biking, but always looking for something out of the box that is one step ahead of kids to keep them engaged. And he and Mrs. Krenzel, I would say we have the best PE department around, especially in any middle school across the state. They're both highly dedicated to not only engaging, but keeping the rigor high as well. So very high expectations with our students along with the engagement. So very thrilled with the PE department at Lander Middle School in Jordan. If you think back to the Don't Quit grant that brought Body by Jake to our school with the new weight room, again, that was all Mr. Cooper initiating that grant. So again, consistently always looking for ways to engage middle school students, which is really fun. So awful proud of Jordan, and not only he dedicates time coaching in our district as well. So not only is he engaging kids during PE, but he keeps with them potentially through the high school with coaching basketball and track. So dedicates a lot of time to this district in the world of physical education and athletics. So proud of Mr. Congrats.
All right. Is there any public comment tonight? Jordan, did you want to say anything? Oh, I would make for a question.
With the traditional approach I used I guess, in the beginning of my career, I grew up playing traditional sports, and the joy I really get is from teaching non-traditional sports. Very rarely will you step in my class and see us playing basketball, volleyball, football, it's mountain biking, archery. I have less behavior problems when I do things that are unique. So work with me and keep going that route as long as it's okay by the boss.
Thanks.
But I have one more thing that Mr. Cooper does very well is he involved our staff too. So he tried a lot of the new activities with us, like dot ball. That's a great one. But he experiments with the staff at times. So he'll offer after school activities certain times or staff activity day at the beginning of the year for something of staff bonding and team building. So actually I think I got a shoulder repair due to dot ball. So
Be careful the workers complain. All right, board member reports. Ellen?
Just a quick one. The musical. I don't know if anyone else, everybody's nodding. Phenomenal production yet again from Lambert Valley High School. I thought the staging in particular was exceptional. So really enjoyed that this year.
Yeah.
Just one I thought was really amazing. It's a really busy time of the year for me, so I'm missing things that I wish I could have gotten to this last month or two. But it did have the pleasure of getting back into the high school there just the other day, visiting with Mr. Moondorf. And you know, at our high school, we've always done a great job of recognizing, celebrating our kids who are going to college and going to trade school and pushing themselves, all those things. And then Mr. Noondorf took me over and showed me the military wall of service of all the people that all the people that he's been able to get a hold of so far and recognized as service people from Lander Valley High School. And being a Navy brat myself, I didn't know that he was doing that. I guess I hadn't paid good attention. But when I looked up at the wall, brought tears to my eye. I was about to do it again. But an awful lot of pride and respect for that. And Mr. Mueller, I would like to just tell you thank you for recognizing those people and showing young people if there's a lot of places you can be successful at and celebrating all the kids that are in our school. So thank you for that. And I don't get caught off guard very often. Yeah, so that's a good one. Thank you.
Taylor.
I'll try to be brief. I just want to give a shout out to a lot of our schools. Been working with Gannett Peak and Baldwin Creek for some after school activities, and just very appreciative of the admin and the teaching staff to let other groups come into the buildings and work on facilities and using our buildings. And middle school wrestling, I've been in full wrestling mom mode, and I'm just very impressed at our middle school coaches to be able to wrangle so many middle school kids. I don't even know. I think they have to take 3 buses to tournament. But I think you don't see them all together, and then when they're all together, you're like, oh my goodness, that's a lot of kids to manage. And it's wonderful to see so many girls trying out the sport for the first time. And every tournament we've attended, our kids are respectful and have great manners. And I just want to thank the facilities people when we have these events. It takes so much work at the high school for the facilities people to keep that all operational. And so just want to share a little bit of that.
I would, unfortunately, the new work role I'm in always seems to have a standing meeting, and it goes right over the Veterans Day event. So I wasn't able again to attend, but I heard from a great number of people. Number one, that Miss Dagan did one fantastic job. And also that our student body, as always, was incredibly respectful and understands the gravity of what it means to sacrifice and serve for the country. So I appreciate Mr. Neuendorf, I appreciate all the staff and students that take the time to do that. That's really important ceremony. The other thing that I want to mention is that I now walk my dog at the dog park, which I vowed I would never ever do in my entire life, but I do. And I had to eat a little bit of crow on that, but I run into a staff member, a couple staff members there when I do that, and they will remain nameless, but they wanted to tell me how incredibly, they're fairly new to the district, how incredibly thankful they are for the district, because compared to the district they came from, they said it's black and white. Our focus on academics and emphasis we place on how important education is across the board. He said he's never seen that in anywhere that he's taught, and he's just so happy to be part of our district. So I thought that said volumes about what these folks do day in and day out. Really nice to hear that. So if there's no other board member reports, we'll go on to Ms. Davis.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. It's been a busy November so far. We had state championship. I just wanted to shout out Katie Anderson. She got Athlete of the Year and a 4-way tie for Athlete of the Week. She's a beast in the pool, and she's like one of my best friends, so I just wanted to shout her out for that. And then obviously Veterans Day. From my perspective, having such a huge role in that, it was a great experience. It taught me so much. Like I already had a lot of respect for veterans in the day itself, but being in that position just puts you in a whole new mindset. And that was really special and that taught me a lot. So yeah, it was great. And then obviously the play, like you said, I'm lucky enough to participate in those in the spring, and knowing how much work that the directors put in, the kids put in, they're so passionate about it, and that's why we've been having such great productions year after year, because of the dedication from them and the heart that it takes to be in a production like that. So we're really lucky to have those directors, and kids that are willing to put in the work for it. And then winter sports are starting. And in the next couple of weeks, we'll have winter formals, so the grind never stops at the beaches. Get ready for those breaks. I'm excited.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave. Mr. Harris, superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of quick announcements and updates on a few things. First, just a little progress update on the remodel project that's going on here in this building on the other half of this square. Things are progressing really well. We anticipate that the remodel will be complete sometime in January, but it's a construction project, so don't quote me on that. It could change depending on availability and all kinds of different variables, but that's a positive thing. Sat down with Mr. Sweeney and Ms. Wall and members of our custodial staff, Mr. Mallory, Mr. Simpson, to talk about the timing of moving back over to this building. And given the time of year and all the other variables, staff and things like that, we decided that we would finish the school year in our current locations for Pathfinder High School and for Lights On, and then transition things back over during the summer when we've got better weather, better availability of staff. We don't have to worry about so much stress on particularly the custodial staff and the teachers who have to move so many materials back. So that should help relieve some stress on these folks and everybody involved. Our first public event in the remodel building, we're hoping will be the Pathfinder High School graduation in May. So we get to show off that picture floor, the bleachers, and everything else that's going into that remodel. So very, very excited about that. Second item would be, you may have seen some information on County 10 related to a request for proposals for mental health services for school district students. And that was due to the district receiving approximately $92,000 in K-12 mental health funds. Those were appropriated back in the 2024 legislative session. We didn't apply for them last school year because we had Project Aware. This year, Project Aware expires in December, so we were looking for some additional dollars to continue those children's services through the rest of this school year. So we put out this request for proposals. We got 3 proposals back, and the bidder that was recommended to us by the committee that reviewed those was Elevation Wellness. Elevation Wellness is based here in Landers. They're kind of a new outfit. But experienced providers there. A couple things pushed them over the top. First was that they could provide in-person services. Recently under Project Aware, we've been doing all online services because we have providers in person. But Elevation can do that. And then on the cost side of things, Elevation was also the front runner among the 3 that submitted proposals. They estimated a cost of about $31,000 to $32,000 for services through the rest of the school year, so going through June. So that's great news. Our students won't have to stop those intensive counseling services in December. A lot of them are currently being seen under services that are funded through Project Aware. We'll transition to this funding now through the state, at least for the rest of the school year. So that's a good thing. It's a good thing for our students and hopefully for their families as well. And then finally, the third item, just a quick word about the climate survey that WSBA, Wyoming School Boards Association, conducted on behalf of the board here. WSBA did have the surveys open and collected responses during October 27th for certified and classified staff. So just a quick numbers update, we received 219 responses, 157 from certified staff, 60 from classified, and 2 responded as other. So we'll be reviewing those once WSBA gets their report done, which is soon. Julie Kusurek from WSBA said she had a couple of other surveys ahead of ours, and she said she would have the report ready to go at our next board meeting, which will be December 9th. So that'll be when we'll get a chance to see what they found and hopefully set up some action steps based on those results. And that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Just a matter of clarification, and maybe I can maybe space something which is also possible. But Is it December 9th or is it the 19th?
Mr. Chair, the meeting schedule that was passed last year is December 9th. It's
Okay.
the second Tuesday in December, so tax over Christmas travels.
Gotcha. I just have to look on my calendar.
Check mine.
Okay. Is that all you have?
Yes.
All right. So I think everyone here on the board either has had or will have teams. Mara, maybe there's an exception with you. So far. And there's one that even is a team right now. And so we're all pretty aware, I think, of some of the difficulties and fears that dating is fraught with in this age. It's a lot more difficult, I think, than when I was a kid. I know that. So I'm very excited. I'm happy to have Anita Roman with the Northern Arapaho Tribal Liaison and James Sorrells with the Eastern Shoshone Tribal Liaison here to talk a little bit about teen dating violence awareness with us.
Like I wouldn't force you if I know I could stand. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Superintendent Mike Harris. I'm Anita Roman, James Sorrells.
James Sorrells.
So recently I wanted to kind of really bring this to the board, James and I, as well as the state of Wyoming. We don't believe in ever going into any community and feeling like we're allowed to just do what we want, right? We have to be allowed to come in and have the conversation. As you know, Cale Case, in this community, love him. He's the chair of Select Tribal right now for tribal relations between the state and the tribes. And he recently had asked us what we were doing regarding MMIP, MMIW, in regards to youth and how we're approaching them. So I was thinking about it. I've had a few conversations with superintendents kind of with concerns regarding the DEI, and I wanted to point out that House Bill 147 that passed and came into effect July 1, actually there's an exemption for the tribes, since we are actually a separate political class and not a separate, that's how we're upheld by the Supreme Court. So MMIP, MMIW are still moving forward with a lot of different things. We do have the Wyoming State Task Force that we still sit on, and that's still chaired by the Attorney General, Kara Chambers, Victim Services, the Director of Victim Services. And so we're still trying to figure out what we can do to kind of address this issue, because in the state of Wyoming alone, out of 100,000 people, 14.9% of them women are Native Indigenous that are murdered, versus 1.5 that are non-Native that are murdered for the same 100,000. So we have a disproportionate murder rate, missing and murdered Indigenous persons murder rate that's happening. And so we were like, okay, yeah, let's talk about what it would look like to kind of approach youth. And one of the big shoe-ins last October was domestic violence, and in correlation to that is teen dating violence. So Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month is happening in February. We were thinking about doing some sort of campaign surrounding teen dating violence, and then a few MMIP, MMIW statistics in correlation to that, but really talking about what does teen dating violence look like. And as the good chairman mentioned, it looks different than how we were doing, right? So back in the day, somebody slammed the locker, somebody got pushed, somebody grabbed an arm. But now it's different. There seems to be a trend with a lot of online harassment, stalking online, bullying online, intimidation. And of course, my old mind, I'm like, oh, why don't you block them? And then, talking to superintendents who are dealing with this, like, there's new profiles being made, there's additional harassment. So it looks different, right? And then also, there's another aspect of it. We all think that a lot of sextortion, which is a tough word, but threats of showing nudes or requesting that is some creeper in New York or California, but it's actually it's happening locally. It can happen with parents. It can happen with that dating and that I'm going to share your nudes. Maybe sharing some statistics surrounding that. When we're thinking about maybe some posters, excuse me, I had a moment. I get nervous every time I talk. Okay. Yeah. So a few posters, and then the Governor Mark Gordon is going to sign a teen dating violence proclamation, and so we're going to fly him out to Fremont County and have him sign a teen dating proclamation in front of the schools, and we're trying to figure out what that looks like. He's willing to drive from Fremont, like Riverton over to Lander, or do we do it at CWC? Just to show that leadership is invested in this teen dating violence campaign and bringing up awareness, also providing resources, not just like the, posters, but resources in the bathrooms for our youth. Because as you know, Wyoming has a different demographic. It's not always a national hotline we're going to call, right? We're going to want to call somebody local to talk to them regarding what teen dating violence looks like. Because you might not know when you're 15 that you're dating a creepy person, And so these are the things that we're looking at right now. And again, I guess our ask is to kind of let you know, can we do this? And then we would ask throughout the whole process, because I've worked in the state of Wyoming my whole life, and I know that you don't go into any community without getting a yes and then not checking in through the whole process.
Okay, so one of the things we would like to do, I guess, with your consent, with your support, is probably develop, like she said, like a poster of
Multiple workers.
yeah. Well, you can put up. I think we kind of want to target the high school grades. I don't know how many's in your high school, but but I would imagine over 500. Because and anyway, put something together. We've got still got a little bit of time, so we can put something together with the poster, maybe some hotlines, some of your local, like your counselors, your nurses, they can, just let them know that they're not alone. And nowadays, maybe even a TikTok or a QR code is something that is that the younger generation seem to be more adept to scanning, I guess. Whatever.
Yeah, we have a youth here. What are your thoughts, Reinhardt?
I think probably posters are good. I think maybe a QR code on a poster, like, I think that would probably be the best option for outreach. But yeah, I think just making sure that kids know they're heard. I think that's the biggest part of it, because kids don't want to be embarrassed. Like, they don't want to feel like they're doing something wrong because they're not. And it's just about getting the help that they need. So probably the QR code, I think, probably be your easiest option. You can check there for access, or if you have a hotline set up, you can look on the post.
Yeah.
I think just to follow on with what James said, I also think, and maybe I'm wrong, I also think kids don't like necessarily be lectured to, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if the posters or if the materials, the TikToks or whatever came from the kid's voice, here's what I experienced.
Okay.
And here's how, here's where I can get help, or here's, someone like me can get help. I think that's what, you may experience it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mr. Chair.
Questions, sure, Taylor.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys coming and sharing this with us. I think it's a really important topic, and I can speak for myself only right now, but I would love for us to collaborate. One other thing I was just thinking as Stephen was talking to, I think that this generation, and maybe I'm wrong, but they grew up with technology from a very young age, and just seeing that maybe some of that cyber bullying and behavior has kind of become normalized to them, like they don't realize how egregious some of that could be and how much of a hindrance to their mental health it could be. And so maybe not just like he said, talking down to them or presenting, but just letting them know, like, hey, this isn't normal for you to be treated this way. And so just kind of getting away from that stigma, because if you've got pockets of kids in a community or like subcultures that are all experiencing it, they might not even realize how egregious it is and how normal that is to treat others like that. So thank you guys for being here.
What do you think the prevalence is amongst teenagers in Fremont County that would experience dating?
So we've been looking at a lot of national statistics right now, but locally we do have evidence of a lot of teen relationships, feedback from principals and one superintendent regarding some relationships that are at risk, that they can identify that there's real concern there. So actually asking for consultant. So right now I think it would be high. Based on the MMIP, MMIW, the boundaries start now at a young age. We gotta start teaching our kids boundaries, and I know we don't wanna like, this is something that should be taught in the homes, but if it were being taught in the home, we wouldn't have such a high rate of murders, domestic violence, and silent witnesses. So I think that it's translating, and sometimes the kids don't feel safe in home talking about it, or we're not sure what, but just having the statistics out to say, hey, like, this is happening, you know, these women that have been murdered now, they started being abused in high school. You know, boundaries start at a young age, and we have to enforce them or encourage them. So I think it's more about the education surrounding it, the boundary setting.
And may I add that not only is some of the problems, but also, you know, there's multi-generations that are still living under one roof. And even as far as teenagers cohabiting.
Yeah, that is another issue that we're seeing is cohabitation, where one parent isn't parenting, so maybe both kids are dating, and there's one parent where there's parents present, and then the other one where the child isn't being parented. And what do you do there when that kid's coming to like stay at your house, and maybe some debt information on who do you talk to whenever that's happening too. So.
Other questions for these fine folks? Laura?
First off, a huge thank you for all the work you're doing. This is so important and, at least personally speaking, deeply appreciated. And then I'm curious if you're open to a couple ideas about, I think something I've noticed with a lot of these campaigns is they're very victim focused on what can the victim do to get out of the scenario, what can the victim do to change it, which absolutely is needed, but also having resources for what do you do if you're a friend and you're observing this with your friend, or lessons or coaching on how do you be a good partner. Let's not put all the responsibility on the recipient of the violence for setting boundaries. Like, is there a way to incentivize?
So I agree with
that. Perfect.
Exciting.
And maybe you're already thinking about all that.
Because we're talking about, you know, we were looking at older campaigns of like, what is the warrior campaign? Because again, it's domestic violence, it's teen dating violence, there's going to be silence. So we are going to have a few MMIP posters, but a lot of these are national statistics that are of, you know, domestic violence in the home, or, oh God, I can't think of it, intimate partner murders, homicides. But yeah, there was like, you know, what does it look like to be a true, to be a good partner, like a good, I don't want to put this and say a good man or a good woman, because that's the thing is I think oftentimes we forget that there's a silent generation in the men who don't talk about the abuse that they're being subjected to. So having those resources in the bathroom so that if a boy's like, hey man, like, you know, but yeah, definitely what does that look like? So we're looking at all of those materials, and I agree with you. So I'm actually really excited you brought it up, which is kind of lets you know I'm obviously way too much into the work here to be excited about such a terrible topic, but truly, yeah, I mean, we have youth that are being murdered at 18, 19 that started dating at 14, 15, and teachers are seeing it now. My mom's a teacher, and she had a student who was murdered recently over a girl, you know. So.
And might I add that one thing we do not want to do is to trigger any of these any of the youth.
Yeah.
You know, that may know somebody that's happened to their friends, relatives, siblings, whatever they mean. We don't want to trigger them, so we're not going to be using any of the people that are within our county, even within our state, as far as like speakers or anything like that. So
yeah.
You know, Maura, just to build on what you said, I really worry, particularly this generation more than ever before, but I think it's a multi-generational thing where we're seeing particularly boys that don't have father figures, that don't have role models in their life. So I think a lot of these kids are growing up seeing porn, seeing those kinds of interactions as their role models, right? This is how I'm expected, or what's okay to do in a relationship. And it terrifies me when I see that. I mean, that's not how you treat people, and yet that's what they're learning. So I think the more that we can help build good role models and model good, particularly young men, And I know it's not just a and believe me, I know, but by and large, I think that I'd like to see our males have a role model. Personally, I don't know how that leads into this topic.
Yeah.
But I certainly think it's integral.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that too, about how do we do that, because we don't want to overstep, but we definitely want to get this information out, get the resources out, and then we're learning as we go along too. I mean, we've had, the lady who sits on the interstate trafficking, because trafficking isn't what we think it is, right? We don't think our kids are just getting picked up at pit stop and stolen. I mean, that is one of the scenarios, but sex trafficking is happening in schools. It's happening at this age. And so if they can get resources of numbers secure, we don't want to think about that, right? But it's happening. And so we're definitely looking at all of these avenues. So what you say, we're gonna go and write it down right now, and like, should have brought my notebook, bring it out. We can open it, we can just watch it, because these are the informations and the pieces that we're kind of taking in right now. We're trying to be thoughtful of if we have a national speaker here, what does that national speaker look like, what do they represent, and what message are we sending across, that we don't dehumanize any particular group, but that we bring this to light. This is a conversation that would be really good. And then again, we don't want to leave the MMIP, MMIW, because that is while we as Native Americans represent only 3% of the state, we're 17% of the population that's being murdered in the state, and that's all 23 counties. But Fremont County has the greatest population. You guys have a huge population of Native Americans. And then you also have boys and girls that are also going to grow up and be in these relationships, and it's a silent epidemic, right? We don't talk about it. And I think if we can play it safe, come have this conversation with you, then submit posters to Mr. Harris, and he can share it with the board as we move forward with it. Any names of any particular speakers that you would like to put forward, we're going to consider all of that, because that's what we're doing. We're just going to take as much information and consideration as we can into this. Can't make everyone happy, but we're certainly not going to cross any lines and disrespect your boundaries.
Well, we're school board members. We understand about not making everyone happy.
Oh, good.
Any other questions for these folks? All right. Thank you so much for coming. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your time.
Great. So I was really impressed with how you guys opened up with so much gratitude and positivity. If all like meetings that I go to could be that way.
Right on. Okay, I need to get we're moving to action items. I need to get a motion for approval of the personnel actions as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We have several policies on second reading. Of course, I was not here for first reading. I'm a little bit out of the loop on this, but I need to get a motion for approval of policy IHBI.
So moved.
Second.
All right, start.
There, so IHBI again is a time and effort policy that we apparently should have had on the books for some time, and now we're getting it on there. And basically just talks about what type of documentation we collect for people who are funded by federal programs, whether one federal program that's funding them or multiple. The documentation varies a little bit, whether it's a single cost objective or multiple cost objective, but basically this just puts into policy what we're already doing. We're already complying with what's required. This just makes it official by putting it into district policy. This is a model policy from the School Boards Association, and something very similar exists in other districts throughout the state.
Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I need to get a motion for approval of policies DLC and DLC-R.
Second.
Discussion.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, so these deal with expense reimbursements. Not much changed on DLC. Actually, nothing from first reading to second reading on DLC. But based on the feedback that you all gave me on DLC-R, I did reorganize a couple things and clean up some wording to hopefully organize this a little differently. Nothing of substance changed. I just think it's a little bit easier to follow based on some of the comments that you all had for me authority. So that's what you see reflected there, is just organizational differences from first reading.
Any comments on this? Discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor? Any opposed?
I'm gonna abstain from vote.
Motion carries. Did you catch that, Jen? You guys want to abstention? Okay, I need to get a motion for approval of GBMR. So staff complaints and grievances.
So moved.
Second.
Mike?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, so this also, there are no changes from first reading, but what this attempts to do is kind of give a little bit more time for the different parties to respond at different stages of this process. Nothing of substance changes, it just allows either side and the board, if they're an entity that's hearing out complaint or grievance, a little bit more time to reach this decision. That also includes an extension provision. That's kind of a new piece that was also there in first reading, but that way, if there's something that comes up and one party needs an extension, they can request that, and then that can be approved if it's done at least 48 hours within, or within, let's see, 5 business days of a deadline. So this hopefully gives all parties a little bit more time. It doesn't change any of the specifics of how things work in the process.
Okay. Any discussion on this one, guys? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Get a motion for approval of policy GC.
So moved.
Possession, use of what? Mike?
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the board, the GCU policy just basically is being updated to comport better with our new CTA rule. This board passed back in late July. So that's just some adjustments, nothing changed in substance again from first reading. First paragraph, we just added the word that there in the second line of the first paragraph to make that read a little bit better. Other than that, there's nothing else that changed. It just makes clear that unlawful carry of weapons is prohibited in the district.
So Mike, this is more or less to allow for what statute 6815. That's what it's driving this. So,
Yes, Mr. Chair, that's true. Yes.
all right, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Need to get a motion for the deletion of policy INJE and INJE homeschool report.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on this one?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, I would just add this is the correct attachment this time around. I don't even know if I- Yeah, this is the form. It's obsolete at this point because state statute has changed.
All right, all those in favor?
Okay.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, that's quick and easy. Need to get a motion for the approval from Lore for a grant of almost $10,000, just $5 shy of 10 grand, for new Smith machines.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? As always, thank you very much to the Lore Foundation. Always generous. We sure appreciate it. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Excuse me. All right, we have several resolutions here for the WSBA convention that's coming up. I believe, Mike, you're our delegate, is that correct?
That's the river.
All right. So we need to give Mike, on each one of these resolutions, we need to let him know whether as a board, we want him to vote in favor or not. So let's go through them, briefly, one by one, and we can quickly decide which direction we want to go. So, resolution.
It starts 2027.
Thank you. All right, be it resolved that the Wyoming School Board Association urges the Wyoming Department of Ed to modify its special education reimbursement schedule to provide timely reimbursements to school districts for special education funding for special education students placed outside the district, ideally on a monthly basis rather than annually. We want to do these individually, vote on them?
Yeah, I guess so.
All right, can I get a motion to, I guess the motion would be to have Mike vote in favor of this resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? I'm sure Travis would like
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it just makes a lot of sense, and I like the way the rationale explained it very well, but it's a burden on the district to have to wait for those reimbursement funds.
that. Yeah, it becomes kind of a cash flow crunch from the airlines.
Could I make one comment?
Yes, please.
So this, coming out of recalibration, in October, Senator Biden asked the Legislative Services Office to include a provision like this in the upcoming school foundation legislation for the upcoming session. So this is very likely to be part of what the legislature considers in addition to just WSBA resolutions. So it seems like those two bodies are kind of on the same page. Hopefully, based on committee.
Hopefully. All right, any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. The next one, be it resolved that the Wyoming School Board Association supports a change to WS 217110D regarding hearings upon the dismissal of a teacher. WSBA supports a specific time frame for ensuring that a termination hearing is concluded within a reasonable time. The rationale is listed. That there's no requirement right now, so I assume that means that they could go. Discussion on, oh, can I get a motion to have Michael in the affirmative on this?
So moved.
Second.
Mike, did you want to discuss this one?
Mr. Chair, sure, I just briefly, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, but because these things are open-ended, sometimes they stretch on for months and months and months. Well, the employee and the district and coworkers, parents, the community is looking for resolution, and this is an attempt to hopefully get those hearings concluded in a more reasonable time frame.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Next one, be it resolved that the Wyoming School Board Association supports change to 2 Wyoming statutes regarding hearings upon the dismissal of a teacher and the teacher pay period to a year prior to a hearing. WSBA supports allowing courts, school districts to put an employee who has been charged but not convicted of certain crimes to be put on leave without current compensation, with provisions for back pay and reinstatement if the employee is not convicted. Motion to have Mike support this.
So moved.
Second.
All right, any discussion?
Well, I was gonna ask, does this open us up to any legal complications if we halt payment before a hearing's terminated?
Mr. Chairman, Cans, I think that's something that they'll have to figure out in the legislature if they were to adopt this resolution. I mean, there has been discussion around the superintendents throughout the state on whether this would violate any due process rights that an employee might have. But the specific instance that they're talking about here is if there's been a charge of a felony, perhaps the school district has evidence that substantially shows that it's likely to be a conviction, and they don't feel right about continuing to pay the salary benefits of this employee. They have evidence that likely that they're going to be convicted while the hearing or whatever the proceeding stretches out for months and months. So that's the rationale. As far as the legal conflicts, I guess LSO will have to advise the legislature on those.
So the resolution is that we would support a change to the statutes, right? So once those statutes change, then we would be on sound with the early doubt. The courts may decide that those aren't constitutional for the state of Wyoming, or federally, but at least we.
And then the provision for back pay Reinstatement.
Yeah.
Reinstatement.
Yeah, that's important.
What would currently happen in the district if a educator is charged with a felony in our current system?
Mr. Chairman, I believe they'd be placed on administrative leave with pay for all the process.
Pay for itself.
Yes. Pay for itself. That position requires some.
You can see how that would put the district in a weird position, particularly if, you know, taking it to the worst type of case where you have a teacher that's having an inappropriate relationship with the student, and so we're still paying them during this process. I can see how that would create some real consternation in the public.
And a lot of times the public sees that not knowing that that's a statutory
Right.
requirement, but they think, oh, the district is, so I like this idea of having that change in the statute, a recommendation of a change.
All right, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carries. And I will leave that bit unless I'm missing you guys.
I think that's it.
You do that, you got it?
I got it.
Thumbs
Thank
up.
Mike.
Oh, wait,
3 thumbs up.
I had one question. Buried in the very bottom, like second to last page, other issues / positions. Support statutory changes to make it easier to reduce the board size. I mostly just didn't know anything about what that meant, sure if that was relevant or important.
I think that's the WSBA's.
WSBA or not the.
Yeah, so that's their agenda. that-
Okay,
their-
right. Then I'm not concerned about that.
Yeah, that's that.
Okay,
Oh,
Mike, thank you very much for representing us down there. Appreciate it. You're all welcome. Okay, and then I think our last action item, I just lost my agenda here. Our last action item is we need to approve a request for funding to demolish the North Elementary building. Can I get a
big one.
for
That's so much fun.
We're having a moment of
I
silence.
know.
Yeah.
Travis, did you want to address this?
Sure. Mr. Chair, earlier this fall, the School Facilities Commission held a meeting here in this very room. We took them on a tour of a couple of our facilities, and we have a new project manager at the School Facilities Department, and he was curious to see the North Building. He had heard stories about it. So he went and visited that facility, and he was amazed that we still have it, for one, and two, that we currently have students in that facility. I've had 2 or 3 school facilities directors tour that building in the past, and they just couldn't believe that it was still in existence, to be frank. So our new project manager is all gung ho to try and get funds from the legislature to seek to get this building demolished and taken care of. We would keep the property in the event that we'd ever need another new school building. That would be a prime location for it. And I don't recall anybody on this board was a part of the board when we conducted our last Mercer study through the School Facilities Department. Mercer study, most cost-effective remedy. We had engineers and architects put a plan together, and their recommendation at that time was it would be better to demolish it. It's a very unsafe building. All the glass, it would be impossible to keep anybody out if they really wanted in. So instead of continuing to sink major maintenance dollars into it, this was their recommendation. So it's not a guarantee yet, but I think our project manager and the director of school facilities, who's a local to this community, is pretty much on board to try and get this done.
I think I was the only one on the board at the time, because it was very early when I came on the board.
I could,
And we did vote as a board at the time to approve the demolition at that time. So
Really interesting.
funding was never dispersed. We've been on the list for a while, ever since then.
Well, what do we pay for, I mean, our monthly,
yeah, it's
a lot.
a lot of money. I couldn't tell you an exact figure at this time, but
I mean, I'm for this, don't get me wrong, but I'm pretty glad we had it this year with the.
Yeah, we're
oh, absolutely, yeah,
It helped.
yeah.
And are we gonna miss it? Yeah, I mean, we're using it right now. Middle school wrestling practice there last year.
Mr. Chair and members of the board, so there are some things that we're using the property for now that we have to reconsider. As far as new, like space for students, we should be okay once this is open. Because the enrollment is down so much, I don't think we need classroom space for north. A lot of the stuff though that's over there is just storage, and we got rid of a lot of that stuff, but I think there's gonna be more yet to either give away or auction or that'll be a part of the process too, clearing it out. But I think we'll be okay since our enrollment's down a little bit. If we needed to put students somewhere else temporarily, we could probably accomplish that. It may not be the most comfortable option, but we could probably figure something out.
Mr. Jacobson.
Mr. Chair, also, we do currently have the Head Start program leasing that, so if we move forward with this, we'll have to begin those discussions with them.
Are these things combined that we just talked about? Is it enough for us to, in your estimation, for us to reconsider demolition? Or still think that's the best way forward?
Mr. Chair, my personal feeling would be to move forward with it.
Mr. Chair, I would agree with Mr. Sweeney. I think that the Mercer study still stands. I think the retrofitting that building would just it'd be way more expensive, more time, take more time probably than just demoing. We honestly can get by without the space, so I think it's probably do it.
And Mr. Chair, we're also bringing online a brand new gym, and we'll have some space for other things.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Sweeney, so with this, knowing that before most of us were on the board back in ancient days when Jared was on there, by so this was agreed upon. I mean, is this something that we need to start having these conversations with Head Start, or do we, not want to scare anyone? Like, if we approve this, what does that usually look like for our time?
Mr. Chair, Taylor, I think if you guys all tonight approve to move forward, Mike or myself or both of us will begin those conversations with Head Start right away. Just give them ample time. So, because this could be a multi-year process before we actually see the money.
Other discussion on this? Well, I know this. For that, I'm going to go back up on top of one of those domes, because when I was a kid, Dunning caught me on top of one of those, and I got in deep, deep trouble. So I'm gonna go this time, and I'm not gonna get in trouble. All right, all those. Any opposed? Motion carries.
There is a journalist in the audience. He's You're all good.
I'm safe.
This meeting's being recorded.
All right, Lander Middle School Improvement Plan. I can assume that Mr. Morton is going to present us this evening.
Yes, Mr. Chair, that's right again. As you heard at our last regular meeting, Lander Middle School put together a school improvement plan as required under the Wyoming Accountability and Education Act, and Mr. Morton was ready to share some highlights of that plan.
Okay, so if you recall, in the last meeting, I probably extended my time detailing to you all what we were going to implement into the school improvement plan. So really tonight, this is just all that information compiled into the school improvement plan under the expectations of WDE. And it's all detailed under the descriptors. If you want me to go through each one, I don't know if you do. I think I did that pretty thoroughly last board meeting. So if you have any questions, these are all implementations and strategies that are currently being used at Lander Middle School, and we're well on our way to hopefully meeting our goals that are in the plan, and we're optimistic that by the end of the school year, that the strategies and plan moving forward will be successful. So it's all in there, detailed questions, but also just personnel and their part in it. I don't think there's much that I didn't talk about last board meeting. If you just look at the structure of the template, you can see that we've, I think, pretty thoroughly embedded all of that into whatever descriptor that they're asking for. I think in the past, if you recall, this is a very similar plan that we submitted the last go around, which was 2 years ago, maybe even 3, that we were considered an exemplar for the rest of the state in our plan. So I'm hoping that we get that kind of feedback this year. It's currently under review. And so typically when we submit a plan like this, we've not gotten any changes to our plan. Usually when we submit our plans, they accept them and we get a lot of positive feedback as to our approach moving forward.
Question for Mr. Warren? Unless I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I'm keeping it short tonight.
Okay. How is the staff embracing the improvement plan?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, where we're seeing our biggest bang for our bucks in our team meetings, and those have changed quite a bit as far as our direction. And I'll go back to the time that I have spent with other principals in other schools, especially the Power School District, and just getting some ideas and thoughts on how they approach. You know, a lot of it, most of it's based off of YTOP, right? That's the measurement that we're being scored on. And I think if you were to go through it a little bit more, you would see that it's not just preparing for the test. There's support activities to also make school fun for our kids, because we just focus on test scores, then you know you run the risk of burning your kids out. They don't want to come to school because you're only working on the hard stuff. But again, one of our staff members, Darcy Wells, who's our MTSS coordinator and Title I teacher, she is the one that organizes incentives for our students. So when we identify areas of growth and we talk about the academic strategies that we're using, we're also incentivizing school as well. Again, Mr. Horton, place-based education, he talked a lot about that. He's also talking about opportunities for 7th and 8th graders. You're not always going to see all that information in here, but it's certainly a part of the overall holistic approach to our school this year. And yes, people are excited not only of our, I guess, our more focused approach on YTOP, based on information from schools that are highly successful right now, but also supporting, you know, that mental well-being of our students as well. We want our kids to feel welcomed and want to come to school. So it's a balance, and this is going to detail certainly the more academic approaches. Because that's what WD wants to see. Greater.
All right. Any feedback for Mr. Gordon?
Mr. Moran, I just wanted to say I can hear the slight sadness in your voice, and I just want to say how impressed I am with this document and the work and effort you're putting into improving this, and want to give you and all of your team a huge thank you for the work. I think it's hard to hear when we're not doing as good as we would like to do, and I am so impressed with the steps and the detail in terms of how you're going to improve, and that means more to me than just doing walks. You always
Appreciate it.
So
I have been sick too, so
I just want you to know this is really impressive. I think, and so
Yeah, a lot of work was put into that. I have a great team,
Yeah.
that we met for many hours to complete this, to make sure it was meaningful as well, but I do appreciate that. Yeah, that crackle in my voice, emulating a
Not sad.
great voice, yeah.
You're just the middle school principal.
Yeah,
The first and the semester is tired.
trying to fit in with the dudes.
But if you need a hug, I'm probably not one.
All right, yeah, that's what I got tonight, so any more questions? All right,
Right, thank you, brother.
yeah, thank you here.
All right, next, item on the agenda, discuss possible mothballing of Jefferson Elementary School. Mike, why don't you take this one?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the board, this is a highly technical term. It's actually defined in chapter 1 of our rules on school facilities. It actually just means basically you're putting a school on hold without closing it. As you know, we don't have any students enrolled at Jefferson Elementary and haven't for several years in a row. School Facilities Commission, we worked on our facility plan, Mr. Smitty, and they would like to see us do something with that building. We have several years of data now that show that there are no students. Not that there will ever be students, but this gives us a way to firm up the status of the school. It can be renewed if it needs to. It can be taken back to active status if it needs to. But this just gives a designation that shows that yes, it's a different designation. We're not expecting to have students that given year. And Mr. Smitty can probably share some additional details about what that status entails.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, and Mike said it very well. I think the only other option is to leave it out of mothball and discuss potential sale of the property or something like that.
So right now it's considered active, an active state,
Correct.
even though it's mothball.
It's not mothball.
I mean,
Right, yeah,
pragmatically it's mothball, whereas technically it's active.
right.
Community members go there. Right.
So this is more of a status that we tell the state. And how long are they going to be satisfied with that?
According to John Rexis, who we talked to at the state, we can continue to do this every 3 years, as long as we want, I guess.
Or if you remember last winter when we were out there, there were several families who said they had young children that weren't yet old enough to enroll in school. So they may enroll, they may choose to enroll, or they may not, but this just helps us ensure that there's a facility there. If we do see an influx of enrollment or decide we want to reopen, we can. But at the same time, not just doing it in a robust task, which is where it's been for a few years now.
Mr. Chair, I have a couple questions. So is there a deadline to when we need to send this to the school facilities for more funding? So
They didn't indicate that.
potentially we could table this until we have some idea with open enrollment. And then based on that information, if we can, I'm confident that we made a valid effort last year to go out to the community and have a couple meetings out there and open up and share and get some feedback. But I also am hesitant to, with those families saying that and just going ahead and, next month mothballing this when we don't technically know if we would have anybody enroll. So I'm wondering if we could maybe put that on the May agenda or something to mothball based on numbers with enrollment. I mean, thoughts, feedback.
Mr. Chair, Ms. Jacobs, yeah, I agree with you. That's why there's no action tonight. Just trying to lay out this as a possibility. The timing of whether the board wants to actually move in that direction is entirely up to you all to decide the timing on that. May might be a good time to do it, although we do get some late registrations, particularly for young students that might happen in the summer. So I don't know what the right timing is.
With a summer, then if there's no deadline, then we have to.
Yeah.
What is the practical effect of changing the designation?
Mr. Chair, nothing. Basically, if we put it in mothball status, we could still spend major maintenance on the upkeep of it. We just continue to maintain it like we currently do.
And if we needed to unmothball it, we could just.
That's why I raised my hand, Mr. Chair. They gave us no indication that I can recall that says if we put it in mothball tomorrow, that we couldn't take it out the next day. And I can double check that, but there was no indication that.
So do we just, so what's the advantage of us putting it in that status?
Mr. Chair, that's a great question. I asked them. I don't know. I really don't know.
I think there's a couple of just practical advantages. One would be like whoever the acting administrator is for Jefferson City Elementary will know that whether they need to hire a teacher or not. They'll know if we need to arrange transportation. Like if we have a mothball school, we're not accepting enrollment. That clears up a lot of question marks for some of the administrators and folks who offer support services out there by way of custodial and transportation, in particular food service. Some of those things I think we can have answers to those questions before they come up. Whereas if we get a late enrollment, oh my gosh, all of a sudden it's August and we have 5 kids who want to go to school in Jefferson City, but we don't have a teacher and we don't have a route that's going to pick them up. That creates a big set of issues for the administrators to figure out. Not that they're insurmountable, but it's going to be very tough to come to parents and go, yeah, thanks, but we don't have a teacher. So,
But Mr. Chair, I mean, we've kind of been operating under that premise. I mean, this past school year, we had a potential person on OLR wanting to enroll their student. I reached out to them, never heard back there because we were in that limbo stage. But in all practicalities, I don't think it makes a big difference.
Well, one of the, I know one of the folks that we talked to out there that had, I think, 2 or 3 kids, they moved out to the village.
So my,
Talked to them at the craft fair. And sure enough, they moved out to the village, so they won't be part of it. And they were sort of one of the main people that said kids there.
Mr. Chair, maybe it's worth your while to make this decision. We continue to hold an annual winter meeting out there. I know it's a bad time of year to have meetings at Jefferson City, but you know, maybe
Right, fast, take chances.
or maybe a early spring type of meeting to see what the interest is. Just to keep the relationship up.
Mr. Chair, Travis and Mr. Harris, so currently if this school is open, we're not mothballed, can the community utilize the building for, like if they wanted to host something out there, is that an option for them?
Mr. Chair, Mr. Jacobs, yeah, it's just a simple facility use request
So-
like any other building in our district.
If it's mothballed, is that still an option for
I
them?
believe they could, yeah.
Okay, so like.
So like I said, Mr.
Advantage of Coming back, it's really just it's a peace of mind thing for administrators. I think that's the way I look at it. If I know I need to hire a teacher, then I can do that. If I don't, there's just a big question mark. And I don't know if I've got what I need when the first day of school comes. I may be unprepared. I may not have the food I need for the kids to enroll. I may not have custodial work on a frequent enough basis. I may need to change transportation routes, and all of those changes at the last minute get very complicated. It doesn't help the district financially in any way, or change the district financially in any way. I just think from an administrative standpoint, it's a lot easier to understand what you're working with when the new school year's on the horizon. We have that status cleared up for a remote school.
So if a family moved out to Jefferson City with 5 kids and wanted to enroll them in August, what would we do with that?
Well, Mr. Chair, the members of the board, I think you could try to hire it, but the other thing that gives me pause with that is just the pool for elementary school teachers right now is very shallow, especially for remote locations. So you could attempt, but you know you're in a position where you could be encouraging something that you can't. You could be encouraging something that you can't follow through on. If you tell the family, yeah, we'll get a teacher, can't find anyone. I don't know what you do then. I suppose you're looking at transporting the kids like we do with our secondary kids who live in that part of the district. It would be a very tough situation if I could figure that out. Been in that district, been in that situation in town here sometimes, and it's hard enough to attract to for Jefferson, that's going to be probably quite a bit.
Do we need to, and I know this is out of the norm a little bit from how enrollment normally happens, but just because of logistics out there, do we need to more or less have have a policy may be too harsh of a word, but a policy that says, look, for Jeffrey City, enrollment has to happen early, enrollment has to happen by May, because we need the ability to plan out that facility.
Mr. Chair, I think I don't know whether it's a policy or not, but I think that's a wise move to make, at least for the initial. Like if we do get kids back, I mean, once you get somebody out there, it's established.
Yeah.
But
Because we can't,
Statutory, I mean, can you,
I don't know.
is there, someone moves to an area?
Because we can bust them.
Sure, yeah.
So it seems like, our district made a commitment that we would have school if there were going to be students, right? And so to me, it makes sense that we would mothball, and that we should maintain that for a while. But I think it makes a lot of sense to put something in writing to say that we will have that school available, but we need to know by this time frame when we're going to need to do that. Otherwise, it will need to wait until next year. Or the next year.
Could we maybe get a principal to do that? Ms. Parks, or who, well, I guess, is it Mr. Butler? Feedback on that? That's
Well, maybe it would be like if we have a meeting in March and then we let the community know if we don't have movement by May. Or by
I can't guarantee.
We're mothball.
Yeah.
And we just do that.
Yeah.
Every year.
Yeah.
And I think if we explain to them what mothballing means, which is difficult to do, but make sure that the community knows that they can still have access to the building as a community play. I think that's important for discussion.
I have a question. So what is the expectation if a student enrolls to this Jeffrey City?
A student,
A student.
tricky, right?
And that's probably what we need to decide. What is the threshold? And when will we act?
From a financial standpoint, Travis, isn't that, I mean, we are not at a loss. We don't lose because you get that.
Minimum.
Yeah, what is
Small
the
school.
small school? So it's not like,
Water.
We could hire a teacher for a student.
Correct.
So it'd probably be, it's really hard to hire last minute. to
Right, we
work
still
in
need
Jeffrey
numbers,
City. Yeah.
What about like middle of the year?
That would be the only advantage of mothballing.
because if someone,
That student has to come.
someone's registered tomorrow, then, yeah.
Yeah, Ms. Parks, I don't think we don't mid-year. I think it has to be beginning of the year for elementary school. And that's why I say I think we need to know or earlier in order to hire. If we can hire, which may be tough to think, right? What's your thought?
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
One, I think May would be too late, because we're hiring
Okay.
earlier than that. And two, not just a teacher, you might have to consider the needs of the students. There might be special ed needs, maybe virtual services, maybe in person, like it may be more than just one teacher.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, I think that's what I was intending with the discussion on mothballing, is to try to give administrative team some sort of confidence that they either are doing something out there or they're not going to do something out there. I think that's pretty much the only advantage of mothballing. It just provides clarity to the community and to the administrative team about how we're going to staff and if we're going to have classes out there.
How about if we do this, because we're not gonna, I mean, that's not a decision we probably need to make, but what I would like to see though, maybe, Mike, and if this sounds good to the board, is a proposal from admin that says, look, we need to know at certain X date if we're gonna have enrollment or Jeffrey City next year. And that way we can plan, and if we don't hit that date, and there's no one, it will be mothballed for the next year, and then we can make that decision.
And then we could work backwards and decide based on what date they give that they need to start opening, hiring, closing enrollment, then we can work backwards and then we would go out to.
And then we give clarity to the community on what's possible.
Does that seem reasonable? Okay. Okay, cool. Thank you. As far as I can tell, the only thing it means is that you have to take the little thing.
Rather absent mouth also.
Okay, discussion and engaging with local legislatures, legislators, discuss ways school board members can engage with local legislators. We have the session approaching rapidly. We do have our WSBA legislative session coming up, right?
Well, that's this week. WFBA.
But is the legislative deal the same time as the normal? It is.
So, no, that's, no,
There's a separate.
yeah, can't remember what that is, but that's.
Well, the state board will be holding their meeting in Casper as well. I won't be into this. So I'll be traveling, but they will be they invited some representatives to come to WSBA and the state board meeting. So if Mike wants to schmooze around, there will be, it's not a formal thing, but it is going to be a kind of an important.
As a convention.
Yeah, from what I understand, like two representatives, and I can't remember what period.
And do you remember when the legislative meeting agreed for WSBA?
Mr. Chair, yeah, last year it was in early February.
Usually it's after.
Do we had talked a little bit about inviting legislators to come and just have an informal discussion with us at a school board meeting? Present if they would like to present. I don't know if we have anything to present for them, but if they'd like to come and chat with us, is that something that the board would still be interested in?
Mr. Chairman, I also add, those guys adore the room.
Yeah.
And I talk with Cal Casey once a month, same thing with Lloyd Larson.
But I think it'd be nice to be in an open forum and have the board be able to ask questions and have it on record. And I think that would be beneficial to the community too. There's a lot of questions to get answered, at one time.
I think Mike just presented the case why you should not run for those office. So December timeframe, because if once we drift into January,
It's probably short notice.
well, why don't we do that, Mike? If you would like to reach out to our, so that'd be Mr. Posey, and Kale and Floyd.
She covers everything.
Yeah.
Covers everything from.
But the largest.
She's my rep.
Right.
Okay. That's.
Is that right? If you want to do that and see if we have any interest, if we don't, that's fine. But at least give them the opportunity to come and chat with some application.
It'd be interesting to ask some questions, but.
Yeah. And I think explaining to them it's not a hot seat thing. It needs to be more collaborative.
I wonder too, a question I have for the board, a couple meetings ago discussed we're debating how to cut up the pizza when we don't have enough pizza. And if it is of value for us to have a statement as a board, probably have to be pretty, I don't know enough about recalibration to know anything specific, but just emphasizing what the needs of the school district are in 2025 and why if we think we need more funding as public schools and why we think so. And I wonder if some sort of joint public statement like that, one, if the board would support that, or two, if we think that would be of value for legislators to take with them as they work with other legislators and say, hey, this school district that I represent, all 7 of them are saying, we need this. Versus like us all having separate conversations with them is great too, but I think we are more, when we act as a group or a board, I think that means a lot more than when I like talk to Kale by myself and I'm like, hey, I think, yeah.
Would it, Mr. Chair, would it be an option to maybe after that meeting, we could have them in December, we can kind of decide some talking points to maybe, if that's an option, or if that's something you all agree?
Yeah, I like that, Taylor. I think it'd be good to be informed by them about the current status before we
Yeah.
put something together. Yeah, I think that might be a more informed statement. And then maybe we can have like open session for us and see if we all.
If I could, members of the board, so there's a lot of different recommendations that were put forward by members of that joint calibration committee. I've done about a little bit, but they would like to see legislation. And there are like 31 different stipulations that different representatives and senators wanted to put in there. And I hesitated and ultimately decided not to bring that forward to your attention. You can find it online if you want, but a lot of those proposals are still so new that who knows where they'll be until they be in the legislation. But there's some good information out there about recalibration, some good articles in the press. Your favorite state outlet, you can read some good info there about what's going on with recalibration, some of the ideas that are being kicked around. But it could be some significant changes to how schools are funded in Wyoming. And we had this WEA for the state of Wyoming decision last summer that has basically been stayed in the last week or so, last week or so. So that means that decision is on hold and the order will not be implemented while this appeal works its way through the state's courts. So it's a really strange time. I really would encourage each of you to look into that and stay apprised of all that and anything we can do as a board or as a district to inform our legislators and hopefully give them our perspective so they can go down and vote. Listen to their information.
Mr. Chair.
Taylor.
I'm sorry, this is not an agenda item, and so I don't know really how to handle this, but the discussion on finances just made me think about, I know we had a discussion about the rec board, when Eileen was present at one meeting, and we kind of had a further discussion about that, and I think Eileen had missed a meeting, and I know you're our rec board representative. Are they opening now for grants, and has Travis?
Last Friday.
Okay, and so do we need to get on, if we were to, I guess, what is the direction of the board as far as what we talked about asking for some of those funds? Do we need to write a grant request? What are our thoughts on that? Or are we gonna wait till next year again? Which I hope I know it's another time.
Travis, would you like to have a word here?
This should air about. Yeah. I think the direction of the board at the time was to put some data together to see the comparison of community use versus school use. Provided that to Mike, and I missed a meeting in there, so I don't know if you guys all got that. I think your decision was going to be based on that data.
Anyone want to guess what the public versus school usage is in percentage?
70-30.
I have 5.
What's yours?
5% public use.
5% public?
Well, does swim club count as public?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, never mind. 40, 60.
Oh. Yes, let me guess. This was interesting to me.
Mr. Chair, it's 80% public, 20% school district.
Oh, wow.
So the district is funding 100%, but we're only utilizing 20%.
Well, that's good news for us.
Yes.
It's good news for us advocating for. It's good news for future maybe.
Right, so we're paying $500,000 roughly.
Subsidizing half.
Yeah.
Out of the general.
Yeah, subsidizing $500,000, so only 20% of that for.
Still $2 though.
So
$2 in.
is that something then, that- I mean, if we were to bring that to them, would we need to bring that in as a grant request? Or is that more of a district request to? I don't know what, how that works?
I suspect our first step would be to make a grant request, see where that goes.
Would it also be appropriate to return for the city of Lander with this?
Then I think
And I mean, maybe we need to table this and discuss it on December 9th.
Yeah.
Meeting date, there still would be
There
time.
will still be time, okay, because that was gonna be right, that next one, we're gonna bring the closing date for the grant. January.
I'm not sure exactly which date, but there would still be time.
All right, it's on the agenda.
Can we have, can I make a request for that?
Yeah. All right, I need to get a motion to adjourn into executive session.
So,
Any discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
We will not do any business after the executive session, so you all get out of here. Thank you. Unless you want to stick around. Feel free to, I know you do.
Remember.